Let's call up Travis. Travis founded a company 2 years ago. He formed a team of 9. He created substantial revenue for his clients. But then, out of the blue, suddenly the project didn't continue. Let's find out why, and let's see what he learned in regards to leadership during that very challenging time.
Hello.
Travis, hello.
Hi, Uli. How's it going?
Is it good timing for you now?
Yeah, not a problem. Let me know if the lights are okay. If there's anything, I can potentially switch that one off.
Looks good.
Nice.
Audio is good. Light is good. Travis looks good.
I put on a shirt today.
So, Travis, once again, hello. Warm welcome to Ulis Talks, my short and crisp but very deep talk. And I'm very glad to be with you here today because you have been on quite a ride throughout the last 1 and 2 years, or maybe even longer. Can you tell me and us more about it?
Sure. So, to give some background context, Uli and I used to work together at a company called Tipster, which was acquired by Bolt. And evidently, after that was acquired, and unfortunately didn't go as planned, I ended up deciding to start my own company based upon a similar concept in which existed there. So for the past 2 or so years, I've been progressively building up that company. It was based around being able to provide customer loyalty solutions so that people could sell products to their end customers and be able to foster loyalty by creating a deeper connection between them. And ultimately, during that time, we turned over 40 million SEK over the few years, and we recruited. And at our peak, we were up to 9 different people at that company. But unfortunately, within the last 6 months, the world has become even more unstable, as we all know, with everything, with rising inflation, the wars and things which are going on, and specifically AI, which is coming into the fray. So it means that every investing decision that you make as a private individual or as a VC is challenged quite greatly. And ultimately, the discussions we had at the beginning of the year to be able to fund our company resulted in that when we went to go and collect in May, we had a stock market crash. We had an AI wave with apps such as Lovable being able to build SaaS solutions seemingly overnight. So it made it a challenging environment for financing, and ultimately we ran out of cash for our burn for our runway.
I believe it feels not only for you, but the whole team as a huge disappointment to not be able to continue. But let me also see the positives. From the outside view, it has been a huge success, what you built and the milestones you have reached and you did reach. And I believe that if you look at your leadership and leading the team throughout that time, you had, I can imagine, very, very many and different kinds of challenges. Can you walk us through the main leadership challenge you experienced during that time?
Definitely. I think some of the reoccurring themes that you'll have is about accountability. So as a leader, and specifically the CEO, you have to lead the direction of the company. And you want to be able to try and formulate your team such that everybody has a very clear direction as to what that they are wanting to accomplish without being that micromanaging leader to be able to dictate the tasks as to what they're going to work with, because ultimately you want to find yourself in an area where you work with experts in their individual field, but they can still come to you for coaching and guidance and direction, which ultimately aligns with the company vision and strategy which you put forward. And I think the way in which I particularly lead is trying to create as much self-empowerment as possible, because they're understanding and they've got deeper knowledge in a field in which I myself don't have. However, I also want them to be involved within the building process as well, and making sure that everybody is on the same page and that we're working towards a common directive. Now, as a smaller company, it's much easier to be able to do so because you can individually consult and also take workshops and be involved. But having people from your development team being involved with your marketing and people within your merchanting teams being working within product development created a greater sense of empowerment, so everybody felt considerably more involved with everything. And I wanted to challenge them to think like an owner rather than an employee. And I think that mentality changed a lot in the direction as to how people were willing to go, because it wasn't just I wake up, I go to work, I'm here, I'm building something, we're building something together.
How did you come up with this kind of leadership style? I would call it, probably it comes close to a consultative leadership style, but let me just say, for the sake of an argument, it's the Travis leadership style. How did you develop it? How did you come to the point where you felt this is the way I need to do it, and this is the way it actually works?
I think a culmination of different experiences. I think everybody has had that manager who sort of sits over your shoulder and tries to micromanage and question and challenge everything in which you do, which those methods may have been effective years ago, but I think, and I've seen that you get greater results by giving people sufficient amount of leash so that they can go on, point them in the direction in which they need to go, which is in line with what you want as a company vision. And on the odd occasion, you need to reel them back in. But giving people that sense of freedom, as long as their character and their persona is able to do so, I find that creates a much more harmonious setting in which you can work with. And I've sort of taken multiple different leadership style approaches with the different teams in which I've built throughout multiple different organizations. Some of them have been very strict or very structured and methodical as to what needs to be accomplished at what time, at what day, at what level. I think the environment is very much the deciding factor as to what sort of leadership style is required. And when building my own company, I wanted to make sure that I essentially took the best of both worlds, but also formed a place in which everybody wanted to wake up, continue working, and be also able to challenge and voice their opinions. And I think that's missing a lot from today's leadership. It's very much a top down and very heavy approach in terms of the style in which people are communicating and specifically how they're trying to get actions formulated and processed within an organization.
So the environment is a decisive factor for which kind of leadership style is probably going to work best. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I think you can modify an environment to a certain extent and you can modify a team. So, for instance, if you were coming into a large corporation and you felt that you needed to have a certain type of mentality within your team, then you would change your leadership style. Whereas in certain ones, specifically, say, um, clinical or things in which are very precise, you can't exactly have a sort of laissez-faire approach where people are just, oh yeah, we'll just do what we need to when we need to. It's no, this needs to be done at this time, at this level, to this specificity.
That's the accountability that you mentioned earlier, right? So
Very much so.
how does this balance? So the accountability with maybe hard facts, hard KPIs, hard goals on one hand, and then the empowerment, the longer leash, uh, the the support rather than the micromanagement on the other hand. So maybe in my words, I would say the hard facts with the soft facts. How did you, or Or did you actually find a good balance between those in your startup experience throughout the last 2 years?
I think it's you go in with preconceived expectations as to what somebody is going to be able to deliver, and that's essentially the hard facts. They have a specific role
Yeah.
title and a description and a skill set in which they're able to work into. And then you can lean into the softer aspects of it by being able to challenge and promote them. Say somebody who's maybe more of an introvert that has really good decisions, you want to try and involve them within the creative decision making process or workshopping. So being able to give those people the tools to be able to both express what their abilities are within those hard areas, but combine that with socialization and be able to push them into certain scenarios in which they wouldn't typically be part of, to be able to build upon those soft ones. The combination of those two, I find, has always been the best.
Now, in your experience throughout the last 2 years, you didn't only manage your team, you managed investors, potential investors, maybe banks, partners, clients. You had many different stakeholders to lead. Like, how was that like?
I think it's the classic "what hat do I wear at which particular moment," and it comes down to a combination of how prepared that you are, the way in which you discuss with those different stakeholders, and what your ultimate goal out of them is. Because one day you could be working specifically with a client to be able to ensure that they're continually happy and motivated, and that you're both getting the same results that you expect. On the other side, you're trying to take those results, present them to a potential investor, and say, look at what we've been able to accomplish with additional funding. We can scale this to a certain level. We can work into more industries and more styles. So my day-to-day interactions with everybody vary considerably with that. And I think probably the harder takeaway in which I found from that was specifically from the investor standpoint. In times of considerable uncertainty,
Yeah.
it made it more challenging to be able to even present an idea which, on both on paper and in practicality, has had traction, has scale, is moving in a very clear direction. There's the outliers in which you're seeing the people which are getting 100 million in ARR in a 6-month period of time, or the MVP costs are dropping considerably. So you've got to be able to manage the macro environment as well as that micro environment in which you are a part of and attempting to pitch forward to those investors and those bankers.
In a situation like that, and this is the last question because we're already running out of time. In a situation like this, what would you recommend to somebody else? What is the key message you would like to leave at the end?
I think in all aspects, both in terms of leadership, company building, relationships, work off of the concept of value. That's how we built and decided the direction that we wanted to have for our company. We worked off of the principle of what saves us time, what saves us money, what gives us enjoyment, and which parts of those can we get the optimal amount of value from. So, and then being able to focus on those different areas, and don't be afraid to be able to change up your pitch direction or potentially change parts of your product in order to increase value, because at the end of the day, it becomes a value trade-off. If somebody is willing to give you money, as long as you're providing them sufficient enough value and which is continuing to grow, then you're going to not only want to be a long-lasting employee, which is going to stay there, a happy customer, which is going to continue to buy, and ultimately create the best set of circumstances for everyone around you.
Speaking about value, thank you so much for your valuable insights, Travis. I am very sure that your next venture, your next challenge will be mastered in a good way. Thanks for sharing, and hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. Likewise.